So welcome to the Faculty of Nursing Discovery session. Hold on, there you go. My name is Emma Lockyer. I am a program specialist in the undergraduate nursing programs office. I'm joined this morning by Dr. Catherine Lang, Associate Dean, Undergraduate Programs. And I've got, I believe, two nursing students online with me as well. We've got Gabriel and Canal. I don't see Canal yet, but she'll be joining us right away. And we are going to talk a little bit about the Faculty of Nursing, careers in nursing, and the nursing program. And there will be opportunities for you to ask questions to the panel at the end. So I'm going to start by turning this over to Dr. Lang.
Thank you, Emma. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. I'm sure we have lots of parents on the line as well, maybe some former U of C grads even. Welcome to you all. And to, most importantly, welcome to our prospective students who are obviously considering a career in nursing. So like Emma said, my name is Catherine Lang and I'm the Associate Dean of the Undergraduate Programs. There's actually two Associate Deans in undergrad. The other one is Zara Shajani, and she's doing the afternoon session. And so you get me for this morning. So I'm going to briefly just discuss our program, but also a little bit about the nursing profession too, just to maybe provide a bit more of a framework around this profession that you are considering. So some of this you might already know if you've explored our website, and but I'm sure for lots of you this is new. There's three routes into nursing in our school. So you can come right from high school, which I suspect most of you on this call fall into that category. We call that the direct entry route, and that's the full 4 years. You know, fall winter times 4 years. Then we've got two accelerated routes. Those are for transfer students. So, you know, as the name implies, these are university students that have a certain number of university courses already, and then decide to switch into nursing. And then degree holder as well. So that's, as the name implies, they've already got a degree in something else. And so those accelerated routes take about 2 years to get through. I'll talk about the program from that full 4 years perspective. So we call all of our semesters terms. So if you think about 2 semesters per year times 4 years, there's 8 terms. So term 1 and 2, that first year, are spent largely away from our faculty, in the sense of that's the year that you would do all of your non-nursing required courses. So for example, all of the options you do in year 1, you do anatomy and physiology, you know, you do all of the things that you need to do, but we just give you that first year in its entirety to get them done, so you're not trying to squish everything around all your other nursing courses. So once you hit term 3, which is the first semester of the second year, you're exclusively in nursing, you're doing exclusively nursing courses. And so term 3 has a community health focus, a population health focus. I'm really kind of speaking mostly from that clinical perspective. Our theory and our clinicals tend to match. There's one exception to that, but that's I'll just sort of explain it from that lens. And then in term 4, so that would be winter of year 2, that is clinically, that's a long-term care placement. But in theory, you talk basically about the whole life cycle from birth to death. But clinically, you're in a long-term care placement. Term 5 and 6, so that's the entire 3rd year, are all med-surg placements. And so that's when your theory would look at acute care for the fall, and then chronic illness and disease for the winter. So it's to really match that med-surg focus. And then in term 7, so now we're in the last year, first semester, that's the first opportunity to choose an area of focus. We don't call it a specialization, we just call it an area of focus. And there's 5 to choose from. We have mental health and addictions, oncology, perinatal, older adults, and child health. And then the final term, term 8, is the entirely preceptor term. That's where you're one-on-one with a preceptor in the hospital. Well, it doesn't have to be in the hospital, in the practice setting. And it's the last term before you would graduate with your Bachelor of Nursing. So finishing our coursework is obviously a very, very large step, but there's one final step that nurses have to do, or almost nurses have to do, and that's write the NCLEX exam, which is a licensing exam. And that is the passing of the NCLEX exam is what sort of makes you an actual registered nurse. So that's kind of the route through nursing. If anybody here is looking at the accelerated program, that first year doesn't happen for you. You have some prerequisites that you would have had to meet to get accepted into our program. And then basically you go through one of the springs to make it the faster route. We have what's called a context relevant integrated curriculum, which nobody really knows what that means when I say that, but really all it means is, when this curriculum was developed about 10 years ago, we didn't have, marijuana wasn't legal, and the medical assistance in dying did not yet exist. And so what having a context relevant curriculum gives us the flexibility within our curriculum to respond to what is happening in society. So we can incorporate medical assistance in dying into the relevant areas in our curriculum. We can talk about legalized marijuana and how that plays out from a health perspective and that kind of thing. So that's really all that context relevant means, is we're constantly paying attention to what is happening in society from a health lens, and evaluating whether it should fit with what we're teaching. And then integrated curriculum means, so what really all that means is, well, maybe the best way to explain it is when I did nursing school way back when in the 90s, we had one course on pathophysiology and one course on pharmacology. And you can imagine they were really challenging courses. We don't do that anymore. We have about 4. Well, you kind of see patho and pharm in every course. We have our 3rd year is where you see it in its full glory, I'd say. And it's a very intensive 4 courses that sort of cover all of that. So we're always trying to layer and scaffold that information versus just doing an information dump on you. I'm not trying to minimize those terms. They're very hard still, but we do try to spread out that content a little bit. So nursing, the Faculty of Nursing, we're obviously beholden to the University of Calgary's policies and procedures and regulations and all those kind of things, but we're also very cognizant and mindful of our legislative body, which is called CARNA, the College and Association of Registered Nurses of Alberta. And there's a sub-arm of CARNA that dictates they're called entry to practice competencies. And so if you were to look at every nursing school across Alberta, we all have the same entry to practice competencies that we need to teach to. We need to ensure that our graduates meet all of those entry to practice competencies, and how we get there is different, but we all are sort of targeting in the same direction there. And so we have CARNA that also plays into our curriculum and our profession. And then also we've got a code of ethics that is put forth by the Canadian Nurses Association. So we kind of have a lot of masters in a way. We have a lot of entities that we need to make sure that we are in alignment with. It's not just the University of Calgary. And I think that's maybe something that makes us a unique faculty. It really, I'm sure law has the same. A professional faculty has regulations that they need to adhere to and whatnot. We are an accredited program, and we're accredited through the Canadian Association of Schools of Nursing. And so what this means is that we have really strict standards that we have to meet and prove that we are meeting through regular audits and regular audits is probably the best way to say that. We also have a satellite campus that's at Medicine Hat, through Medicine Hat College. So those students there would graduate if they're in the nursing program, obviously, would graduate with a Bachelor of Nursing, a University of Calgary Bachelor of Nursing, even though they take it through Medicine Hat. And we've also got a sister campus in Doha, Qatar. It's called University of Calgary, Qatar. And they don't have the exact same curriculum as us, but they're very, very similar, and we work very closely with them. And just maybe a couple more things I'll say before I turn it over to our students. So, a university is like a little city, or maybe it's like a big community, but there's lots and lots of initiatives on campus that we're involved in as a faculty. And maybe most predominantly right now, we've got a campus mental health initiative and an Indigenous initiative. This isn't an exhaustive list. I'm just maybe pointing out the ones that we've taken up quite fully in our faculty. And so the former one, the mental health initiative one, we have a lot of programming in our faculty related to mental health and resiliency. And in fact, that forms the backbone of our strategic plan. We have a director of mental health initiatives. We have wellness and mindfulness workshops, all those kinds of things. And then of course, we've got mental health content that is threaded throughout our curriculum as well. And then with respect to the Indigenous initiative, we've worked really, really hard over the last few years to incorporate and embed Indigenous content throughout our curriculum. And it shows up most predominantly in term 3, but it's scaffolded throughout the other terms as well. And then I'm sure there will be a few questions about COVID. Maybe what I'll say with respect to COVID, just to start us off, is, it's been, I think, irrespective of what industry one is in, COVID has been very difficult and challenging to work with. And certainly nursing, I would suggest, is up there with one of the most challenging ones that's been hit. And so we have worked very well with Alberta Health Services to allow our students to stay there, to abide by the regulations. Obviously, of course, we're going to do that, and to make sure that we can continue to graduate nurses because they are so desperately needed right now. That said, you must be fully vaccinated to be in our program, and that is kind of a new thing. There is no such thing as exemptions, and that is not our rule per se. That is Alberta Health Services rule. But we cannot graduate a nurse if we can't give them a clinical experiences, right? So I just want everybody to know that before you get too far down this line, because there's obviously some prospective students and current students, quite honestly, that's very problematic for. So I think that the more informed you are about that at the beginning, the better. And of course, we can field some questions around that at the end if you're curious. And I think that's pretty much all I had to say. Emma, if you think I've forgotten anything in particular, you can let me know, but I can turn it over to our students. And I'm sure at the end we can, between students and Emma and myself, we can answer all of your questions.
Catherine, the only thing, as you talked about our sort of our satellite programs, we also have our new Wainwright program that was just announced this week. So you might want to touch on that as well. Yeah. We may have some folks joining us.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Emma. Yes, we have a pilot program. Well, let me back up just a little bit of background to this. If we think we're short nurses in urban centers, you can imagine how amplified that is in our rural areas. And so nursing shortages in rural areas have been a problem that has plagued this profession for a very long time. And COVID has just shone a gigantic spotlight on that and made it just, very, very, very problematic. And so we have just started a program in conjunction with Alberta Health Services to offer a group of 8 students. Our pilot is running through Wainwright, Alberta right now, who are educated in their community and with the intention that they then stay there once they're done. And so we offer a distance remote education. They'll be, obviously they'll do their clinical in their hometown, but their theory classes and whatnot are all offered online. And so the idea being, grow your own nurses, so to speak. And so this group of 8 in our pilot program will become, another group of 8 next year, hopefully, and then other centers will start to open up with more of these programs. And so that's a very exciting new initiative that we've just started, and hopefully will continue for a very long time.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine. Gabriel is our only nursing student online with us right now. So I will turn it over to Gabriel to talk about his experience as a University of Calgary nursing student.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. So my name's Gabriel, and I am a 4th-year nursing student here at the University of Calgary and currently in term 7. So my nursing journey began back in 2018, actually in grade 12, because I had a love for biology, and chemistry. And I wanted to find a degree that was engaging and would bring my love for those subjects to the next level. I didn't want to do a degree that was necessarily boring and the same kind of thing where you just show up and you go home. I felt nursing was that bold and daring step that let me turn my passion for those to the next level. And because of that, I've had a lot of long-lasting friends, and it's really been no regrets. So in nursing, I love how the class sizes are really small compared to a lecture, which would have like 500, 600 students. In your first year, because I'm a direct entry, you do get to involve yourselves in those. But once you get into terms 3, 4, and so on, the class sizes get a bit smaller. And because of that, you get a lot of that teacher and student learning experience that you wouldn't get with a normal degree. And nursing has helped me like have so many amazing experiences. COVID really has hit hard, especially in my long-term care where it happened first, because we were in the placement and then we got kicked out because of COVID. But I was able to get a healthcare aide job, and that really was my only continuation of term 4, which is long-term care, and that has been an amazing year. I've just resigned from that, but it was really fun. And my clinical experiences, I've been to most hospitals in the city due to being kicked out and being placed into new units due to COVID. But I've mostly maintained that med surge, internal med, and into term 7 where you can pick. I'm still in older adults, but really you can pick so many different routes when you're in term 7. And even term 6 had a trial pediatrics placement, which some of my friends did, which I didn't do. But if that's what you're into, then you can go right ahead. And really, nursing has just opened so many doors, because you can go on to get a master's, you can be a nurse practitioner, you can be an educator, and there is the ceiling, the sky is the limit. There really is, it's amazing. And I have, no regrets joining this program. And thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Gabriel. Unfortunately, the other students supposed to join our panel weren't able to make it. So we're going to move on. We do have time for some questions. Just to keep things manageable, we will ask that you pose your questions in the chat. I will moderate the chat and read them out. And either myself, Dr. Lang, or Gabriel will answer them depending on who's best suited to it. I do just want to remind you that the focus of this discovery session is on the Faculty of Nursing, the nursing program, and careers in nursing. If you have questions about admission requirements, I would encourage you to attend one of the many sessions that admissions is putting on today, or to visit the admissions booth, and you can talk to them about those requirements. So feel free to pose your questions in the chat. Oh, here we go. On average, how many people get into the nursing program for direct entry? We typically admit between 110 and 120 students per year. Is there an honors program provided? Currently, no, we do not have an honors program right now.
I'll maybe just add to that, just since we're waiting for some more questions. We are in the process of redoing our curriculum. It won't go into effect for any of you unless you decide that next year isn't when you'd like to come. You might defer it. We're looking at right now, we're looking at a fall 2023 launch of that new curriculum, and that curriculum will include an honors route for people that are interested in that.
What are the prerequisites for admission into the degree holder track? So as I mentioned, the focus of this is not admissions. I will just tell you very quickly, it's 6 credits of anatomy and physiology, 3 units each of statistics, English, and arts. If you have more admission questions about the degree holder route, I would encourage you to contact our advising office directly. We can be reached at nursing@ucalgary.ca. What is an honors program? Catherine, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, an honors program typically is an extra focus with a research lens. And so it's not, different faculties might have a different answer to that question, but for us, it will be students will be taking extra research courses and will do either a small research project or a piece of a bigger research product with research project with a professor. And so it's really to give a concentrated look at the research process within the field of nursing. So it would be one extra semester and a few extra courses. Actually, I shouldn't say a few extra courses, a few courses earlier on in lieu of other courses. They would be research, whereas, if you're honors, you would take these research courses, whereas your peers might take something different.
And just a reminder, you would have to enter in fall 2023 or later.
Right. It is not
be able to do an honors program. It will not be available for fall 2022. Are there any research projects specific to/for nursing students? I'm cagey about this because the answer is not really. It's not impossible. We have what's called Pure Awards, P-U-R-E, and that is essentially like a university-run competition every year, where as an undergraduate student, you can apply to do a Pure project with a professor in this case, in the Faculty of Nursing. And then kind of like I described that honors program, you would take a piece typically, like if I was the professor that you were with and I had whatever project on the go, you might do my data collection, or you might help me with the lit review, or kind of like wherever the stage of that project is at. And so that is a way to give interested folks, because not everybody's really into research, but that's a way to give students that are interested more experience in that field, or in that part of nursing, I should say. All right, thank you, Catherine. In between terms 3 to 6, just to clarify, is it some in classroom and then some in the field exploring placements?
So for this one, once you, for direct entry, or when you have that degree holder, when you go from term 3 to 7, it mostly follows the same pattern of 4 classes, 3 being lecture and your lab, and then 3 being lecture and lab, and then 1 being the actual practicum. So for example, my schedule is Monday, I have a class, and then Tuesday I have 2 classes in the lab, and then Wednesday I would have nothing. And then Thursday, Friday would be clinical. So clinical runs from either days or nights, and this is repeated throughout each term and each week.
And I would just clarify that students take 3 nursing theory courses, so 3 lecture courses essentially, and 6 units, so the equivalent of kind of 2 courses of clinical, which is your clinical and your lab each term. So you are taking a full course load, and you have theory every term and a placement every term. Are there any clubs that are related to nursing?
Yeah, there's UNS, and then there's the Nursing Guys Club, and there's also YONC, which is also for direct entry. So UNS is Undergraduate Nursing Society. You kind of automatically join that. It goes in your D2L shell, and it's basically, they host a lot of events that bring the faculty together, such as like door decorating, or they do bake sales, or just any activity that helps engage all those years of nursing into something. It was really good when COVID wasn't a thing, but it's still great. And then Nursing Guys Club was created to help eliminate that stigma of you're a guy and you're nursing, and a lot of people would look at that a certain way, but that was created to help alleviate that and embrace that it's an awesome profession no matter what gender you are. And YONC is Year 1 Nursing Council, so it is sort of like UNS, but it's really to help the first year nursing students get together and discuss like their interests, and also what they expect out of first year. And they can apply for different positions in that, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome, thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, our nursing students are very engaged with our clubs, and they really create a good sense of community within the faculty. Can you get into the program and defer for a year? So typically no, only in truly extenuating circumstances are admission deferrals approved. Can you specialize in hospice or palliative nursing while getting your RN, or is that a different thing?
So the answer is no, you cannot, but you cannot specialize in anything. When I talked about term 7, that is an area of focus. It's not meant to mean, you know, if you take the oncology route, you're not an oncology nurse. We only graduate generalist nurses. And so that's meant to be a good thing. That's meant to show you that, you know, let's say you had your heart set on oncology and you didn't get it. It doesn't mean you can't be an oncology nurse, right? So it's just, you are still a generalist nurse. You are getting an area, a concentrated focus in a certain area, which may or may not lead to a position in that field. But to sort of maybe tease apart that question a little more, we have palliative and hospice content that would be woven throughout our curriculum, but you wouldn't receive, you wouldn't become a specialist in that area. That would come after you graduate.
So we're general Bachelor of Nursing, which is pretty much the standard for nursing degrees across Canada. Most don't have specialization programs. You graduate as a generalist and you're qualified to work in any area of healthcare. If I graduate and obtain my license, what would be the process for transferring it back to BC? I'll take this one because I support licensure. So there's kind of two different, the way you've worded it, there's kind of two different things that could happen here. We have a lot of, so once you finish the Bachelor of Nursing program, you are then eligible to write the NCLEX exam. It's once you pass the NCLEX and register with a licensing body that you become a registered nurse. So you need your nursing degree first to then become an RN. We have a lot of students who choose to just register directly with BCCNM, the British Columbia College of Nurses and Midwives, in which case they go through the registration process with them. They write their NCLEX in BC and they become a registered nurse in British Columbia right away. It's a fairly straightforward process. I support students with it every year. The other thing you can do is write your NCLEX in Alberta and register with CARNA, the College and Association of Registered Nurses of Alberta, and then go through the process of transferring your license from Alberta to British Columbia. And I don't know a lot about that process because the university isn't involved, but the two provinces really recognize each other's licenses basically straight across because there's a lot of movement of nurses between them, and we have virtually identical licensure requirements between the two provinces. So yeah, you can very easily transfer, train here and transfer back to BC. We have students do it every year. Are there ways of getting experience in other focuses of nursing other than the 5 areas of focus in term 7?
Well, you know, you get experience in the previous term. So you get the community health experience in term 3, long-term care in term 4, and then med surg in terms 5 and 6. So you do get other experiences along the way. And then once you get to term 8, you get to request what term you or where you would like to be. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you know, our placement team certainly tries their darndest to give people at least within their top 3, top 5 maybe. And so that's, you know, like if you had your heart set on, I keep saying oncology because I'm an oncology nurse, but if you had your heart set on oncology, you could, and you didn't get it in term 7, you could request it in term 8. So that's another lever to get into the area that you're curious about.
Does the nursing program have an equivalent to residency?
Not really. I mean, I think if that's like medical residency, term 8 would be our closest because, like I said, it's you know, over 300 hours of concentrated work in one area with a one-on-one preceptor. So that's the closest that we would have to what you might think of as a residency.
Are there any specific nursing scholarships offered? We do have some. So our scholarships are pretty much entirely merit-based. So with the exception of one scholarship that's offered in the 4th year for students interested in a focus on rural nursing. All of our scholarships are based on GPA. So they're for continuing students, and we have a few entrance scholarships for degree holders and transfer students, but they're all based on GPA. So the students with the highest GPA get them. Would I become an RN right after graduating? No.
You have to write your NCLEX exam first. You have to pass your NCLEX exam first, I should say. And then you are an RN.
So you do your nursing degree first, and then you write the exam. Where can I find a program for perioperative nursing?
I'm not super familiar. That would be called an after degree program. Mount Royal University used to offer some. I don't know if they still do. This is also something that if you're really interested in perioperative nursing, you could request it for term 8, for example, and maybe get it. I know that AHS, well, pre-COVID, I'm not sure now, they did a lot of internal training as well, kind of their own orientation slash program around that. So I'm just not sure on the latest related to that, but certainly term 8 within our program would be what you would want it, where you would, if you wanted that, where you could request it.
Yeah. So again, they're really in Canada, you're not going to find a lot of specialized programs unless you're looking at after degree certifications after you've already done a general nursing degree. We don't really have specialized degree programs here. Can you work as an LPN or a healthcare aide as a direct entry after a certain number of terms while continuing for an RN, or is that just in a collaborative program? I'll turn this over to Gabriel in a second, because I know he said he worked as a healthcare aide, but LPNs and healthcare aides are very, very different. An LPN does require the completion of an LPN diploma and licensure with their regulatory body. We do have lots of students who work as healthcare aides, so I'm going to let Gabriel talk about his experience with that.
So in my term 4 long-term care, I got the healthcare aide job after I've completed that in April. And I worked that summer, and I was also able to, it was something called a casual position. So really it was below part-time. So you just worked when you felt like your schedule was the most flexible. But you only had to like work maybe once or twice a month to maintain your employment there. So yes, you can definitely work as a healthcare aide and do nursing school. You just have to really schedule yourself in a way that you don't burn yourself out while also getting that experience, because it is an amazing experience. You can actually apply as a nursing aide as well for Alberta Health Services. I have a couple of friends who've done that, and a lot of them have gone on to get a placement at the place they worked at as a graduate nurse and then a registered nurse, because they have that prior experience there. So it is definitely something I would recommend. And also you get paid, so why not?
Yeah, I would just clarify, hear Gabriel say he did that after term 4. So you do have to have completed term 4, year 2 of nursing to be eligible to work as a healthcare aide. Recently, things have shifted in Alberta. You are now required to register with the Healthcare Aide Directory. When you get to that point, the undergraduate programs office can support you with the documents you need for that. And there are also what are called undergraduate nurse employees, UNE positions with Alberta Health Services that a lot of our students seek as well, especially over the summer. And those are specific scope of work with AHS. We had a lot of students doing them, doing COVID immunizations this year. They hired a lot of UNEs to do that. And again, you have to be at least done second year to qualify for those, just with the number of required clinical hours. If I graduate this year and decide to apply a year after graduating, so in 2022, is there any negative reflection of that on my admission? No. Admission is based entirely on your average. We don't look, doesn't matter what year you took those high school courses, doesn't matter if you took a year off, doesn't matter if you upgrade. It's not something we would consider. In what term would you start clinicals?
So you start clinical in term 3, which is essentially year 2 for direct entry, and also that's the first thing you do if you are a degree holder or a transfer. and that is a community health placement, which I did, and it's really fun. And it's a clinical that isn't too demanding. It's meant more to just help you ease into the whole show about how clinical works in terms of your schedule. And in community health, you start like going around to different places, and also a lot of Indigenous and First Nation areas, and you learn about their culture and about the people who shape the province, and it's really fun.
Does the nursing degree help prepare you for the exam that makes you for an RN?
It sure does. You NCLEX, the NCLEX exam has a certain flavor in terms of the types of questions that you're asked and the way that you're asked. So you don't see questions like with a direct, typically you don't see questions that would have a very obvious yes or no answer, this or that answer. And so you start getting practice with NCLEX questions in term 3, but you see them very fulsomely in terms 5 and 6 for sure. There one of our instructors is, we call it our NCLEX lead. And so she teaches in term 5 and 6, and her exams are almost entirely NCLEX based. And so by the time you finish in term 8, you've had a lot of experience with NCLEX. We give you a lot of resources in terms of practice exams, where to go for that. There's a ton of resources you can just play with and buy on your own. Some are free, but some you can buy NCLEX prep books and that kind of thing. So there's lots and lots of infrastructure around preparing for the NCLEX exam. On that note, I didn't mention this earlier. You can go to our website, the undergrad site, obviously, and we show our pass rates for NCLEX since the inception. I think it was 2015, or I can't remember when the NCLEX started, but so you can see our pass rates per cohort, so per direct entry, yeah, that's fair to say that. And we have among the highest pass rates in the province. So we do a really, I mean, not to tout our own horn, but I guess we do a really good job of preparing our students that way. It's a steep learning curve, particularly in term 5, just with a different way of sort of approaching knowledge. But it pays off in the end because typically you feel very, very prepared for your exam.
Can I hold a job outside the program while studying as a degree holder student, or would you recommend against that? Well, I would say, first off, the degree holder program, aside from the accelerated spring terms, is exactly the same as the rest of our program. So I'll let Gabriel talk a little bit about working as a student, because it sounds like he's done that and a lot of his friends have.
So when you're thinking about holding an outside job, it really depends on how good you are at scheduling your job as compared to your course load, because from term 3 all the way to term 8, the course load really ramps up, especially when you start your third or second year, which is your terms 5 and 6. You really start learning a lot of information. And if you can still hold a job, and also do your schoolwork without being burnt out, then that's more power to you. That's respect. But I would advise, it's not, there's no clear answer on that. It really depends on how ready you are to put in the work, as well as put in more work for your course load. So yeah.
If you have prior experience working in healthcare, do you take that into account as an advantage when applying to nursing? No, admission to nursing is based entirely on your admitting average or on your GPA. If you're a transfer degree holder student, there's no supplemental application. We don't use the Casper exam. We don't use resumes, personal statements, references, anything like that. It is based entirely on your GPA. Are there any mentoring opportunities in the nursing program?
Yes, there are actually. So I was actually a nurse mentor. So what happens is when you get to your higher nursing years, you get the chance to help a first year nursing student, or a direct entry, or just a person who is getting into the program. And your job is to essentially help them succeed and talk to them about what to expect in the nursing program. So I was helping a first year nursing student, and we would email each other once a week on progress and tips I had when I was once a first year nursing student. So yes, there is 100% a chance to get mentored, and I would recommend it because it's also a way to connect with the upper years and learn what to expect, and you have that advantage, and that's always good.
And Gabriel, have you done the nurse mentor program as well? Because that's peer mentorship you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, sorry, you got confused.
Yeah, so Nurse Mentor is also a program that the faculty offers where students are paired with a current working nurse, often an alumni of our program. And unfortunately, I don't know a ton about it because our office isn't as involved with it, but you get the opportunity to connect with and be mentored by someone working often in an area of practice that you're interested in going into. So that's out there as well. What is the competitive average for admission? So it hasn't been set for fall this year, but it's typically in the high 80s to low 90s range, just depending on our applicant pool. Does where you attend a nursing program affect your chance of getting a job, or does it just rely entirely on the NCLEX?
It does not matter where you get your nursing degree. You know, in the States where they have Ivy League universities and whatnot, of course, that doesn't exist in Canada. The closest thing we would have is what's called the U15 group. And that is a group of 15 universities in Canada. We're one of them that are considered research intensive. And so that said, it wouldn't matter if you graduated from University of Calgary, which is a U15, or MRU, which is not a U15, you would get the same degree essentially, because we all have those standards we have to teach to. Where the advantage might come in to attend a U15 university is that research training. We have a very heavy research focus, not so much in, like I said, making students do research, but understanding research, understanding how to evaluate research, understanding what makes a good paper, you know, how to critique a paper, how to understand if this is good data, bad data. We are seeing the effects of that skill not being in our population, some of our population right now, right, with COVID misinformation. And so that would be maybe the advantage to attending a U15 university like UCalgary.
We don't have any other questions in the chat right now. I'll give it a moment if anyone has any last minute questions that you'd like to ask. We do have a little bit more time. If you apply with your grade 11 average, do they act as a placeholder until your grade 12 average is visible? So that's an admissions question. You do need to go attend one of the admission sessions, and they will talk about early admission, standard admission, and final admission in great detail there. Or you can visit their booth and talk to an admissions representative about that. Just give it another moment or two if anyone else has any other questions. Does Alberta also provide student loan forgiveness when working in rural areas? So you would need to contact the financial aid office about that. I'm not sure, I can't advise on student loans. I can tell you that the Alberta Health Services and the Northern Alberta Development Council do have a bursary for nursing students who are willing to commit to, I believe it's 2 years of work in the rural north post-graduation. So that can help pay for the last portion of your degree, but you do commit to 2 years in the rural north. Some of the maritime provinces have also had some similar programs, so I'd encourage you to look into those as well if you're willing to commit to working somewhere that's underserved. If I want to go out of Canada after getting my degree, how would that work out? Okay, that is my wheelhouse. I support alumni seeking licensure abroad. It really depends where you're trying to go, what the requirements are there. I have supported alumni, lots of them going to the US. I've supported alumni going to Australia, to the UK, New Zealand. We've done some for Japan, India, all over the world. And it really depends on exactly where you're going and even what particular US state you're going to. They all have their own restrictions and requirements, but it is possible. It's very possible. We have alumni working all over the world. Are there any general tips you can give for prospective students to keep in mind for success? For example, how to maintain mental health or how to schedule time well?
So I would suggest you would establish this thing called a SMART goal. And a SMART goal is something that they're small, attainable goals that essentially you don't bite off more than you can chew. And you will learn more in depth about what SMART goals are. But really, what I'm trying to say is to maintain that success while also maintaining your mental health, you really have to just know your limitations as well as what you're looking for, just to avoid that burnout, which really sucks. You don't want to do that. So yeah, it depends.
I want to add to that too, Gabriel. I would suggest that, it's typically the students that we get in nursing are very high achievers, are used to very, very high marks. And then sometimes when you get into nursing, you don't get those high marks anymore. And that can be a crushing blow for some students. And I spend a large amount of my job at times trying to position that for students. You don't need to get A+ in this program. In fact, you probably will not. Expect your grades to go down a little bit. Expect there to be a learning curve with just being a university student in general, and expect that it will be hard because it ebbs and flows in terms of how hard it is. And hard means different things to different people. But, typically once you get into term 5, that the learning curve changes. The learning curve goes up a bit. And some people kind of freak out at that a little bit because they're harder courses, but it doesn't, whether or not you graduate with a 99 average or a 75 average, you don't get bigger letters behind your name with that degree, right? It is the same degree and it will get you the same job. And now I know that's easy for me to sit here and say, but I really, really encourage students to let go of that perfection expectation that a lot of students come in with, because it will only hurt you. So if you can let that go and just be more accepting of the process and the ebbs and flows of the nursing program, then I think you sort of set yourself up a little bit better. Your mindset's a little bit different.
All right. Can I get an MBA with a bachelor's degree in nursing? That would be a question for whatever MBA program you're interested in applying to.
Typically, though, yes, you can.
Yes.
MBAs typically accept a wide range of bachelor's degrees.
Is there a difference between a Bachelor of Nursing and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing?
There is. Our new curriculum will be a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and the difference I can tell you is 4 science-related courses extra. That's the difference. There's a ton of science already in the BN program. I'm sure Gabriel can attest to that. The courses aren't necessarily called, a title that would have you think science-y course, but there's a ton of science in nursing already. And so a Bachelor of Science in Nursing is the addition of 4 extra courses in science-related courses, I should say.
And I would just add that there is no difference in how Bachelor of Nursing and Bachelor of Science in Nursing programs are licensed in Alberta. So students who graduate from either program all go on to write the same NCLEX. Generally, what does the cost add up to by the time you are done the nursing program? That's a difficult question because our tuition rates are not frozen right now and can and likely will continue to change over the coming years. So the best thing you can do is check out the University of Calgary's tuition rates. Our students do pay the standard calendar rate for tuition. After getting a nursing degree and passing the NCLEX, how would someone become a travel RN? I'm only going to touch on this very briefly. This is, again, as I said, I support alumni seeking international licensure. Typically, you go through an agency. You do have to get a license if your travel nursing is big in the United States. So I'm assuming that's where you're referring to. You would have to be licensed in a US state. And you go through all of that paperwork. So it is a process. That's something you could visit down the line. In the 7th or 8th term, is there a chance to work in emergency or trauma?
Yes, in term 8, not in term 7, but in term 8, if you want to do a critical care focus, you can request emergency, ICU, CCU, whatever is of interest to you. But yes, that would be when you get that chance.
Do you offer both a Bachelor of Nursing and Bachelor of Science in Nursing?
We do not. We currently are a Bachelor of Nursing, and then our new curriculum, which will be likely fall 2023, will be a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So at that time, the BN will end and the BSCN will start, but there won't be overlap other than the students that we're teaching out of the BN. They will, if you start as a BN, you will finish as a BN. So we'll have a couple of years just of a bit of overlap, but they're two discrete degrees.
All right, we don't have any other questions, so I'll just give a couple more seconds. If you have any last minute questions to put in the chat, we do just have a couple more minutes. Anything else you thought of? If I take an MBA program here at UC, how long would the process be? You have to talk to the MBA programs. We can't advise on other programs. All right, well, if there's no further questions, I think we'll wrap this up as it is just about 11 o'clock. Thank you very much to our panelists, Dr. Lang and Gabriel. We've got staff in our virtual booth this afternoon. We've got some more questions coming in. How long would it take to receive an acceptance letter? You need to talk to admissions about the admissions timeline. And would it be hard for me to get a job right after writing the NCLEX?
That's kind of hard to answer. It depends where you're trying to get a job, I suppose. And but you're eligible. You're eligible to work right away. Your NCLEX is what makes you from a graduate nurse to a registered nurse. And so it really just kind of depends on what field you're looking at. You can imagine that nursing is one of the most important professions in the world at the moment, and they are desperate for nurses. So I would say the climate is right for that, and sometimes that's not the case, but right now I think we're looking pretty hopeful.
All right, so with that, we will wrap things up. We have advising staff in our virtual booth all day today if you want to come by and ask more questions. If you have more specific personal advising questions, you can book an appointment with our advisor by emailing nursing@ucalgary.ca. Or if you think of questions later, you can reach us via email as well. If you have admissions questions, I would strongly encourage you to attend one of the admissions discovery sessions or drop by their booth. Thank you, everyone, and we hope to see some of you in the future.